Hey guys, so today we're going to keep on going with our short stories that revolve around Mount Targon. Today I'm going to do Leona, and then we will continue on in the next couple days with the rest of them. So this is Leona, the Radiant Dawn. If you would shine like the sun, first you must burn like one. Imbued with the fire of the sun, Leona is a warrior Templar of the Solari who defend Mount Targon with her zenith blade and shield of daybreak. Her skin shimmers with starfire, while her eyes burn with the power of celestial aspect within her. Armored in gold and bearing a terrible burden of ancient knowledge, Leona brings enlightenment to some and death to others. To live in the land surrounding the towering peak of Targon is to embrace a life of hardship. But many willingly do so as a testament to the power of the human spirit to endure anything in search of meaning and higher purpose. As harsh as the rugged foothills of the mountain's base are, it is nothing compared to the hardships borne by those who dwell on the mountain itself. Living high on Targon is fraught with danger. When the glittering mist wreathing the summit descends, it does not come alone. All manner of otherworldly things are left behind when it withdraws. Radiant creatures that kill at random, and muttering voices that whisper unspeakable secrets to drive mortals mad. Eking a living form from the mountain plants and their precious herbs, the Wrecker tribe dwells at the very limits of human endurance, honing their warrior skills to fight the war at the end of the world. Wrecker means son of tribe of the last sun, and its people believe that many worlds have existed before this one, each of which have been destroyed by a great catastrophe. Its seers teach that when the sun is destroyed, there will be no more, so its warriors must be ready to fight those who seek to extinguish its light. To the Rakor, battle is an act of devotion, an offering to keep the sun's light shining. All members of the tribe are expected to fight and kill without mercy or hesitation, and Leona was no exception. She learned to fight as soon as she could walk, mastering the sword and shield with ease. She was fascinated by the mists wreathing the summit, and often wondered what might lie beyond them. That fascination did not stop her from fighting the ferocious beasts, inhuman entities, and the pallid, eyeless strangers that came down the mountain. She fought to kill them as she had been taught until one day when a young Leona encountered a gold-skinned boy with horns and bat wings wandering on the mountainside. He did not speak her language, but it was clear that he was lost and frightened. His skin shimmered with soft light, and though everything she had been taught since birth told her to attack, Leona could not bring herself to murder someone so obviously helpless. Instead, she led the boy to the pathway leading to the summit, watching as he walked into the ray of sunlight and vanished. When she returned to Rakor, she found herself accused of failing her duty to the sun. A boy named Artrius had been seen leading a creature of the mountain to safety instead of killing it. Artrius had told his father what Leona had done, and he in turn denounced her as a heretic for going against the beliefs of her people. Leona did not dispute this, and the laws of Rakor allowed only one sentence for such a transgression: trial by combat. Leona would face Artrius in the fighting pits beneath the noonday sun. Its light would judgment be rendered. Leona and Artrius were eventually matched. Her warrior skills were formidable, but Artrius had ever been single-minded in his pursuit of martial excellence. Leona took up her sword and shield, Artrius's long spear, and none who gathered around the pit could predict the battle's outcome. Leona and Artrius fought beneath the blazing sun, and though both bled freely from dozens of wounds, neither could land a death blow. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the elder of the Solari marched into the Wrecker camp with 3 gold-armed warriors to call halt to the duel. The Solari were adherents of a martial fate built around the sun's worship. Those unforgiving tenets dictated life around and upon Mount Targon. The elder had been led to the record by the dreams, and an ancient Solari prophecy spoke of a warrior whose fire burned brighter than the sun, the daughter of Targon who would bring unity to the celestial realm. The elder believed Leona was the daughter, and upon learning the nature of her transgression, his belief was only strengthened. The tribe seers warned against interfering in the duel, but the elder was adamant. Leona must come with him and become one with the Solari, and be fully instructed in their beliefs. The Rekar were fiercely independent, but even they paid heed to the holy decrees of the Solari. The warriors lifted Leona from the pit and bore her wounded body from the Rekar towards her new life. The Solari temple was a towering citadel on the eastern slopes of Mount Targon, a glittering spire of gold-veined marble and polished granite. Here Leona learned the ways of the sacred order, how they worshipped the sun and the source of life, rejecting all forms of light as false. The strictures were absolute and unyielding, but fueled by her belief in the elder's prophecy, Leona excelled in this disciplined environment, devouring her new faith's teachings as a parchment in the desert seizes upon water. Leona trained every day with a warrior of the Order of the Solari, the Raharak, a record title which means followers of the horizon. Honing her already fearsome skills with the blade into something sublime, in time Leona rose to command the Raharak, becoming known around Mount Targon as just, devoted, and as some might say, a zealous servant of the sun. Her path changed forever when she was called to escort a young member of the Solari to the heart of the temple. Her hair was the purest white, and shimmering rune glowed on her forehead. Her name was Diana, a troublemaker well known to Leona from the exasperated woes of the temple elders. Diana had gone missing months before, but now she returned, clad in a suit of pale armor that glinted with a strange silver light. Diana claimed to bring great news, revelations that would shake the Solari to its foundations, but she would only reveal to the temple elders. Leona brought Diana to the under-armed guard, for her warrior instinct sensed something was awry in the girl's demeanor. Presented to the elders, Diana spoke of the Lunari, an ancient and prescribed faith that venerated the moon, and how all the truths the Solari had clung to were incomplete. She described the realm beyond the mountain top, a place where the sun and moon were not enemies, where new truths could show them fresh ways to look at the world. Leona felt anger build with every word Diana spoke, and when the elders rejected her word and named her a blasphemer, Leona knew that it would be her blade that ended the heretic's life. Leona saw Diana's incredulous fury with the elders' denial, but before she could react, the white-haired girl hurled herself forward. Blinding light exploded from Diana's outstretched hands, and orbs of silver fire burned the elders to dust in the blink of an eye. The white flame surged in a hurricane of cold lightning and blasted Leona from the chamber. When she regained consciousness, she found Diana gone and the Solari leaderless. As the remaining members struggled to come to terms with this attack on their most sacred space, Leona knew there was only one path open to her, and she would hunt down and destroy this heretic Diana for the murder of the Solari elders. Diana's trail was easy to find. The heretic's footsteps were shimmering like mercury to light Leona's eyes, leading ever higher up the slopes of Mount Targon. Leona did not falter, climbing through a landscape that seemed strange and unfamiliar. though she followed the paths that had never existed until this moment. The sun and the moon passed overhead in a blur, as if many days and nights had passed with her every breath. She neither stopped to eat or drink, letting her fury sustain her beyond what should have been humanly possible. Eventually Leona reached the top of the mountain, breathless, exhausted, starved, and stripped of all save punishing Diana. There, sitting on a rock of the mountain, was the same gold-skinned boy whose life she had spared as a child. Behind him the sky burned with blazing light, a borealis of impossible colors, the suggestion of the majestic city of gold and silver. In its fluted towers and glittering minarets, Leona saw how the Solari temple echoed its magnificence and fell to her knees in rapture. The gold-skinned boy spoke to her in an old Racker tongue, telling her he had been waiting for her to follow him since that day, and he hoped that she wasn't too late. He held out his hand and offered to show her miracles and to know the minds of the gods. Leona had never turned from anything in her life. She took the boy's hand as he smiled and led her into the light. A column of searing illumination stabbed down from the heavens and engulfed Leona. She felt an awesome presence filling her limbs with terrifying power and forgotten knowledge from the earliest epochs of the world. Her armor and weapons burned to ash in a cosmic fire, and they were in turn reborn as an ornate war plate, the shield of the sunlight wrought in gold and the sword chained in dawnlight. The warrior who came down the mountain looked the same as the one who had climbed it, but inside Leona had much changed. She still had her memories and thoughts, and she was the master of her own flesh, but the silver of something vast and inhuman had chosen her to be its mortal vessel. It gifted her with incredible powers and awful knowledge that haunted her eyes and weighed heavily upon her soul, knowledge that she could only ever share with one person. Now, more than ever, Leona needed to find Diana. This is the Lightbringer. The raiders attacked before dawn. 50 wolf-lean men in iron halberds, mantled with strange furs and bearing ash-dulled axes. Their steps were swift as they entered the settlement at the foot of the mountain. These men who had fought as brothers for years, who lived in the heartbeat between life and death. A warrior in battered scale armor, bearing a heavy-bladed greatsword over his shoulder, led them. Beneath his dragon helm, his face was bearded and now, burned by a lifetime of war-making under the harsher sun than his. The previous settlements had easily been overcome, little challenge for men weaned on battle. The spoils were few and far between, but in this strange land a man took what he could get. This one would be no different. Sudden light flared ahead, sunlight gleaming brightly. Impossible. The dawn was more than an hour away. The leader raised a callous hand as he saw a lone figure standing athwart the settlement street. He grinned as he saw that it was a woman, and finally something worth plundering. Light inflamed her, and the grin fell from his face as he stepped closer and saw that she was clad in an ornate war plate. Auburn hair spilled from the golden circlet, and sunlight glinted off her heavy shield and long-bladed sword. More warriors emerged from the street, taking their place on either side of the woman, each gold-armored and bearing a long spear. "These lands are under my protection," she said. Leona lifted her sword as the 12 soldiers of the Rahurak formed a wedge between her at the center. 6 to each side, they swung their shields and hammered them down as one. Leona made a quarter turn and locked her own shield into place at the apex. Her sword slid into the thrust grove beneath the shield, bladed hollow. She flexed her fingers on the leather-wound grip of her sword, feeling the surge tide of power within her. a coiled fire that ached to be released. Leona held it within her, letting it ease into her flesh. Embers flicked her eyes, and her heart pounded in her chest. The being she had joined atop the mountain longed to burn these men with cleansing fire. Dragonhelm is the key. Kill him, and the rest will falter. Part of Leona wanted to give the power in her free rein, wanted to scorch these men into soldering bone and ash. Their attacks had killed scores of people who called the lands around Mount Targon home. They defiled the sacred places of the Solari, toppling sacred sunstones and polluting the mountain springs with their excretions. The Dragonhelm laughed and swung his great sword from his shoulders as his men moved away from him. To fight with such a huge weapon and keep it consistent motion needed space. He yelled something in a girdle tongue that sounded more like animal barks than anything human, and his warriors gave an answering roar. Leona let out a hot breath as the raiders charged, their braided beards flecked with frost spittle as they pounded towards the Rahurak. Leona let the fire into her blood, feeling the ancient creature emerge its essence with hers more completely, becoming one with her senses and gifting her with the perceptions of the world. Time slowed for Leona, and she saw the pulsing glow of each enemy's heart and heard the thunderous drum beat of their blood. To her, their bodies were hazed with fire reds of battle lust. Dragonhelm leapt forward, his sword hammering Leona's shield like a stone titan fist. The impact was ferocious, buckling the metal and driving her back a full yard. The Rahurak stepped back with her, keeping the shield wall unbroken. Leona's shield blazed with light, and the Dragonhelm's mantle of fur smoldered in its furnace heat. His eyes widened in surprise as he hauled his enormous sword back for another strike. Brace and thrust, she yelled to the rest of the raiders. Brace and thrust, she yelled as the rest of the raiders hit their line. Golden spears thrust the instant of impact, and the first rank of attackers fell with their bellies pierced by Mount-forged steel. They were trampled underfoot as the warriors behind them pressed the attack. The shield wall buckled but held. As it smashed down, sinew swelled and the throats grunted with the effort of attack. Leona thrust her sword through the neck of a raider, a scar bisecting his face from crown to jaw. He screamed and fell back, his throat filling with blood. Her shield slammed into the face of the next man to him, caving in his skull. The Rahurak's line bent back as the Dragonhelm sword slammed down again, this time splintering the shield of the warrior next to her. The man dropped, cloven from neck to pelvis. Leona didn't give the Dragonhelm a chance for a third strike. She thrust her golden sword toward him, and the searing echo of an image emblazed from the rune-cut blade. White-hot fire engulfed the Dragonhelm, his furs and hair instantly igniting, and his armor fusing with his flesh like a brand. He shrieked in hideous pain, and Leona felt the cosmic power inside her revel in the man's agony. He staggered backwards, and somehow still alive and screaming, as if her fire had melted the flesh from his bones. His men faltered in their assault as he fell to his knees as a blazing fire. "Into them!" shouted Leona, and the Rahurak surged forward. Powerful arms stabbed spear blades with brutal efficiency, thrust, twist, withdraw, over and over again like the relentless arms of a threshing machine. The raiders turned and fled from Rahurak's blood-wetted blades, horrified at their war leader's doom. Now they only sought to escape. How and why these raiders had come to Targon was a mystery, for they had clearly not come to bear witness of the mountain or make an ascent. They were warriors, not pilgrims, and left alive they would only regroup and kill again. Leona could not allow that, and thrust her sword into the earth, reached deep inside herself, drawing an awesome power from beyond the mountain. The sun emerged from behind them, and highest peaks as Leona thrust her hand into the light. She dropped to one knee and slammed her fist into the ground, and sunfire rained from the sky. So that is the end of Leona's story. I will be doing Diana next, as these two are linked, so I think it's more appropriate to have the two that are linked together be done directly after each other, and then we'll move to Pantheon after that. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like and a subscribe, and I hope you guys have a nice day.